Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Like I mentioned in the last video, this episode is going to be a good one because I've got some shiny new parts sitting over here on the table ready to go on Lizzy. That should hopefully make her sound a good bit better. So I've got my coffee, so let's get into it. Alright, so seeing as how Lizzy is a 03 Crown Vic underneath a P71, because that does make a slight difference in this case, this is essentially the same install as if you're doing it on a normal Crown Vic, at least really close. So, we have the complete stock exhaust system. So it's the stock manifolds, the stock catalytic converters, there are 4 of them. The stock exhaust from their back, it does have an H-pipe in it from factory. The 2 stock mufflers. The only difference from a completely stock one is we just lengthened the exhaust when we lengthened the chassis, about 9 inches. And then it's the stock tailpipes back over the rear axle and exiting in the back. So all stock there. And obviously Lizzy is my daily driver and a cruiser. So I did not want to ruin that by doing a really loud exhaust. So I decided against just throwing a louder set of mufflers in it. So my shiny parts. This is what I have got. So we have a 2-inch dual exhaust electric cutout kit from Spalab Parts, and I will put the link for them down in the description. It's not sponsored or paid or anything, but it's very much a budget system. I paid about 180 bucks for it. So it comes with the stainless pipes, like I said, in 2-inch in this case. We have our 2 cutout valves. We have the flanges and V-bands, gaskets, all the wiring, and then a set of little turn-down pipes. And then a couple things that I've also got that do not come with the kit. I picked up a set of Dynamax mini race bullet mufflers, resonators. Because I'm not sure how it's going to sound, just straight pipe. Probably maybe a little raspy, so I'm hoping this will make it sound a little bit better. And then these only come as small as 3-inch diameter. So I have a set of adapters that go from 2 to 3-inch. That will go something like that and make that work. So that's my setup that I've got. One thing I've already modified is the switch that comes with the kit here. Originally was designed to plug into the cigarette lighter, but I just wanted to hardwire this in, so I simply cut off the plug and we're just left with a black and red wire for that, so we'll just hardwire that in. So yeah, that is the setup. We are not going with a set of fancy headers. Unfortunately, that's just out of my price range right now. So the stock manifolds and cats, all 4 cats for now, are going to be staying in. And then, as well as the rear mufflers, so the cutouts are going just ahead of the stock mufflers. I was hoping to use my brother's lift for this, but it is going to be occupied for a while. So we are going to do it the old-fashioned way. And so let's get the car up on jack stands. And I'll also fire up the car so that way we have a sound clip of what it sounds stock. That way we can easily compare it. right, so now that we have our baseline sound clips, we're going to get her up on jack stands and get to work on this thing. Alright, so the section right in here is where we extended the exhaust, and it's actually a perfect place to put the cutout. So it will be going in right in about there. And I'm not quite sure how I'm going to rotate it. You can obviously clock it a bit. So I think right in there is a good section. So we need to cut it right here, and then unbolt it or cut it here. And then we'll work on fitting that thing in. Alright, so I finally decided to just pull the whole H-pipe out. See it there. The reason being is I didn't have a Sawzall, and so I was trying to cut through from the bottom with an angle grinder and a cutoff wheel, and I just couldn't make it to the top to cut that piece out. So I ended up just unbolting it at the front, and then I had to cut some slots in order to get this to slide off the mufflers, but we finally got it out. So we'll finish cutting these pieces off, we'll get the ends cleaned up, and then see how the cutouts fit onto those pipes. Alright, so I've been working away at this, so I will show you where I'm at. Alright, so I have both cutouts in place here. This was definitely probably the hardest part of the job. So I ended up cutting the pipes here on each side, and then here's where I had to slot the mufflers in order to get the pipes out. I had a clamp on this side, which makes it really hard once you want to pull these pipes out. So I finally got that out, and did some experimenting with placing these, and you can rotate them. And I think I got it about where I want. These don't hang down too bad. And then we've got good clearance between the motors and the floor here. And then also, might be a little hard to see, but the turn downs are right close to the mufflers there, but they're not quite touching. And there's actually a chance I may not even run the Dynamax race bullets. We'll see once. So yeah, that's where I'm at. And over the weekend, I got a couple more parts in. I decided to change a little bit. I was just going to get some exhaust band clamps to go around there to hold them, because we can't just weld this, because from the muffler on back and the tailpipe over the rear axle is one piece, so we want it to be removable there. And so I'll show you what I got. Alright, so I got a set of 2-inch V-band clamps off of Amazon. They just came in today. So this is what I'm going to run instead of band clamps, just because it's much easier in the future when if I need to take it apart. V-bands come apart a lot easier than what V-band clamps do. So I'm going to work on getting these in place and get them tacked in. Alright, so we got the rear V-bands tacked into place on the mufflers, both sides. It was definitely a bit of a pain. I had to do some trimming. to the ends of the mufflers to get them to fit back in. And then I also test fit the valves again, make sure everything clears, and then tacked them where I wanted there. I had made these sleeves right there where these pipes fit into. That way I could still rotate them and stuff would kind of stay in place. So I tacked those where I want. So now I am going to pull the H pipe out, and when we are going to final weld everything, and then the mufflers are going to have to be welded on the car, which is a little bit of a pain. So I've been using jack stands to support those, so we'll drop those down and do our best to weld all the way around them. Alright, so I got these sleeves all MIG welded up and smoothed out, and I MIG welded these just because I had some gaps to fill, and I would have not been able to do that with TIG. So seeing as how these are stainless, I'm going to TIG weld the V-band here, and then obviously this is mild, this is stainless, but we're going to try to TIG it at least along there as well. So we'll see how it turns out. I am definitely not a professional at welding in general, and definitely not TIG welding stainless, but we're going to give it our best shot. Alright, I finally got this all welded up. I'll be honest, my welds didn't turn out that great. I'm not sure if... I know for a lot of it, I had stainless filler rod, but I think I was just using too big, and so the beads didn't turn out really nice. It did improve once I started using some smaller rod in just a mild steel rod. So definitely practice needed, but it's all welded together. I don't think it's going to come apart. So we're going to let this cool off, and then we're going to start assembling the valves and everything on these for the final time, and we'll stick it back in the car. Alright, let's get to assembling these things. So, we have gaskets. We have our bolt. We have a lock washer, regular washer. It's going to be going this way. We have a gasket. We have our flange, and I have to remember which way it goes. Right. I think that's right. Then we have another gasket. And then our turn downs. Just like that. Good. Alright, I think that's it. I'm going to leave the bolts loose until we have it in the car. That way I can make sure I've got actually everything clocked properly. So I'll go ahead and do this side.
Oh, whoops. Okay. Oh, I forgot. We can't do that yet because we still have to weld the flanges on the mufflers. All right, well, let's do that first before we put it in. All right, so continuing where I left off this morning, I got those V-bands welded in. It was definitely a bit of a pain, which I knew it was going to be, and but we got that welded. I don't think it leaks there. So I got everything bolted back in. Got the H-pipe bolted in, got the V-bands bolted together. Stuff definitely fought me a bit. I think it was just a combination of when I welded stuff, it moved a bit, and probably not being quite precise enough when I first fitted it up. But definitely a bit of a pain, fought me more than I'd have liked. But it's in now, so I'm going to hop under the car and show you what it looks like.
And I've got my light, so hopefully it won't be so dark. Let me adjust you up here. All right. So got them all welded in. The V-bands that attach to the mufflers there. And that's going to make it really nice for serviceability in the future if I ever have to remove the tailpipes. So, yep, all welded up. So finally, I can start on my wiring for this thing. All right, so I've been trying to decide where I want to put my switch. And I think what I'm going to try to do, and hopefully it works, the trim piece in the dash, the trunk release button is right here in the center. So I think I may try to fit it to the side here. Hopefully that'll give me enough room to move it, which I think it should. So I'm going to go ahead and get a hole drilled in here.
Let's see. Up. Up is on. Wash it upside down. There we go. Is that what you think? Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, that'll work really well. Sweet. All right, for our switch, we need a 12-volt switch power and then a ground. So I started looking and I found this 2-pin unused plug that was taped in here in the dash, obviously for an option that we do not have. And so I checked it with a multimeter and we have keyed 12-volt at the big yellow one here and then ground at the other one. So which that makes it really convenient. So I'm simply going to clip off the plug here and we're going to tie that directly into our switch. All right, so for the wiring, I drilled a little hole down in the floor there, on one over there as well. Kept it simple, ran the wiring through. I'll get some small grommets to protect those wires. So I ran them underneath the flooring here, underneath the flooring here, and then cut a little slot in the flooring there, and then the wires run out of there, and then we have a bunch of extra wires, so we'll simply zip tie them out of the way in the center console here. And then we ran the wires underneath the center console, got them connected up underneath the dash. There's like a wire splitter that splits into one. runs up to the little box, the controller for the switch, and then to the switch itself. So I'm pretty happy with that, how that turned out. Good place for it. Doesn't stand out too bad. So yeah, still got some finalizing to do in the wiring. Said they're connected underneath, so we are almost done here. Alright, so with the 4 stock cats in place, stock H-pipe, and then the cutouts at idle, we are at 74 decibels. Now let's close them. So with the exhaust cutouts closed, about 65. Alright, so I've been driving Lizzy around for the last week or so, and I gotta say the cutouts are really nice to have. With them closed, it sounds just like stock, quite as stock still. And then you flip the switch and yeah, it sounds pretty good. Couple things on it. One, it is not aggressive enough yet. And so I've actually got the car back on jack stands, and we're going to modify it a little bit more, get it to sound a little louder, a little more aggressive, hopefully. So we'll see how that turns out. So that's why this is part 1 of the video. Next video, we're going to continue with that, and we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, that's really the main thing. Definitely a little bit of work doing the cutouts versus just a louder set of mufflers, but then you get the best of both worlds, and you're not stuck with just loud. So that's really nice, because this is definitely still a cruiser. And it's not a race car or anything, so just a cruiser majority of the time. So having the option of doing that is really nice. So I think that's going to wrap up this video. So thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one.